Love is often celebrated as something worth fighting for. But the truth is that not every relationship is meant to last. Sometimes, holding on does more harm than letting go. The signs that it's time to walk away are rarely dramatic. They show up quietly, through fading respect, constant imbalance, or dreams that no longer align. Yet many people ignore these signals out of fear or habit, only to trap themselves in cycles of unhappiness. Knowing when to let go is not about giving up. It's about protecting your dignity and making space for a healthier future. Number 1. When respect disappears. One of the clearest and most brutal signs that it is time to let go of a relationship is when respect vanishes. Love can survive periods of distance, stress, or even temporary loss of passion, but it cannot survive contempt. Respect is the invisible foundation of every bond, romantic or otherwise. When it erodes, the relationship doesn't just weaken, it begins to rot from the inside out. Respect is not simply about polite words or basic manners. It is about the way two people see and value each other. When your partner no longer acknowledges your worth, your opinions, or your dignity, what remains is not love, but control, indifference, or even disdain. And once that seed of disrespect is planted, it rarely shrinks. It usually grows. Think about how this looks in daily life. At first, it might be subtle. They interrupt you when you speak, dismiss your feelings as too sensitive, or roll their eyes when you share your perspective. Over time, it escalates into sharper behaviors, mocking you in front of friends, speaking with condescension, or belittling your goals. Eventually, the relationship becomes a battlefield where every disagreement is not about solving a problem, but about proving that you are inferior. Some people tolerate this for years, hoping it will get better. They tell themselves, it's just stress, or maybe I'm overreacting. But the truth is that once respect is gone, even if passion or habit keeps you together, the bond has already been poisoned. The moments of tenderness that appear occasionally are often just illusions, temporary flashes that keep you trapped in a cycle of hurt. Here's the harsh reality. A partner who no longer respects you will not suddenly wake up one day and start valuing you again. Respect is not something you can demand or beg for. It must be freely given. If you find yourself constantly explaining why you deserve decency or begging to be heard, you are already in a position of weakness. The more you tolerate it, the less they see you as equal. Walking away when respect disappears is not about pride. It's about survival. Because without respect, even love becomes toxic. A relationship without respect is like a house with beautiful furniture, but a rotten foundation. Sooner or later, everything collapses. The sooner you leave, the sooner you stop betraying yourself. Number 2, when you have to beg for love. Another undeniable signal that a relationship has reached its expiration date is when you find yourself begging for affection, attention, or validation. Love, in its healthiest form, is not something that needs to be pleaded for. It flows naturally, willingly, and consistently. When it becomes something you must chase, negotiate, or constantly remind your partner to provide, then what you are holding on to is no longer love. It is dependence. The tragedy of begging for love is that it slowly strips away your sense of self. At first, you may only notice subtle imbalances. You are always the one initiating conversations, planning dates, or reaching out to resolve conflicts. You convince yourself that your partner is just busy, or not good at expressing feelings. But over time, these excuses collapse under the weight of reality. The more effort you invest, the less they reciprocate. You begin to feel like a performer on a stage, dancing for scraps of attention. Psychologically, this dynamic is devastating. Human beings are wired to crave connection, but when one partner withholds affection, it creates a toxic power imbalance. The one who begs starts to believe they are unworthy, that they must earn every ounce of care, and that being ignored is somehow their fault. This is not love. It is emotional starvation disguised as a relationship. Consider how humiliating it truly is to ask for the bare minimum: a text back, a kind word, a hug, or a moment of undivided attention. These are not luxuries. They are the oxygen of intimacy. If your partner forces you to beg for them, they are signaling something loud and clear. They no longer care to meet your emotional needs. And when that happens, you are no longer in a partnership. You are trapped in a one-sided contract where you give everything and receive almost nothing in return. Here's the cruel irony. The more you beg, the less attractive you become in their eyes. Neediness does not inspire love. It breeds contempt. A partner who once admired your independence now sees only desperation, and instead of rewarding your efforts, they withdraw even further, creating a vicious cycle where you work harder and they care less. The harsh truth is that real love cannot be forced. It cannot be manufactured through persuasion, guilt, or sacrifice. If someone genuinely wants to love you, they will. If they don't, no amount of begging will change their heart. Staying in a relationship where you must constantly prove your worth is like living on borrowed time. It drains your energy, corrodes your confidence, and convinces you to accept crumbs when you deserve a feast. Walking away in this situation is not weakness. It is the ultimate act of strength. Because the moment you stop begging for love is the moment you reclaim your dignity. And dignity, once restored, is the very foundation upon which true, mutual love can one day be built. Number 3. When the relationship takes more than it gives. A healthy relationship should be a source of energy, not a constant drain. It is supposed to give you strength, stability, and a sense of partnership in facing life's challenges. But when a relationship takes more than it gives, when you consistently feel depleted rather than uplifted, it's a sign that what you are experiencing is not love. It is exploitation. At first, the imbalance may be easy to ignore. You might tell yourself that relationships require sacrifice, and that every couple goes through rough patches. But over time, the weight becomes impossible to deny. You notice that you are always the one compromising, always the one apologizing, always the one adjusting your schedule, your goals, even your identity, to keep the peace. Meanwhile, your partner continues to take your time, your energy, your emotional resources, without offering much in return. The emotional toll is devastating. Instead of feeling comforted by your partner's presence, you begin to feel heavier, anxious, or even resentful when they are around. Moments that should bring joy, like spending a weekend together or sharing a meal, become exhausting chores. You may even notice that you feel more alive, more at peace when they are absent. That contrast is not an accident. It's your subconscious screaming the truth. This relationship is draining you instead of sustaining you. On a deeper level, relationships that consume more than they give often trap people in cycles of guilt and obligation. You might think, I can't leave. They need me. Or, maybe I owe them one more chance. But love that is fueled by guilt is not real love. It is servitude. And no matter how much you give, it will never be enough for someone who sees your generosity as an entitlement rather than a gift. Think of it like a bank account. In a healthy relationship, both partners deposit regularly. through affection, time, encouragement, and effort. Withdrawals happen too, of course, but they are balanced by mutual contributions. In an unhealthy one, only one person deposits, while the other only withdraws. Eventually, the account runs dry, and so does your emotional well-being. Here's the harsh truth. If being with someone consistently makes you feel weaker, emptier, or smaller, then it doesn't matter what history you share or how much love you once felt. The relationship has become a liability, not an asset. Love is supposed to add to your life, not subtract from it. Walking away in this case is not about selfishness. It is about self-preservation. You cannot build a fulfilling future while shackled to someone who drains the very energy you need to thrive. Leaving means choosing growth over stagnation, empowerment over exhaustion. And that choice, though painful, is the one that sets you free to finally experience a love that gives back as much as you pour in. Number 4. When the future no longer aligns. Another undeniable sign that it's time to let go is when your futures no longer move in the same direction. At the beginning of a relationship, passion often blinds us to the importance of long-term compatibility. The excitement of being together overshadows questions about values, goals, and vision. But eventually, those questions demand answers. If the answers reveal two entirely different paths, love alone will not be enough to hold things together. Future alignment is not just about logistics, like where you want to live or what career you want to pursue. It runs deeper. What do you value? How do you define happiness? What kind of family or lifestyle do you envision? If one person dreams of a quiet life in the countryside, and the other is determined to chase ambition in a bustling city, it's not simply a small difference. It's a fundamental clash. Many couples ignore these red flags, telling themselves, love will find a way. But love without alignment becomes a chain, not a bridge. Instead of walking side by side, one person is forced to shrink or abandon their dreams for the sake of the other. Over time, resentment grows, not because of a lack of love, but because love requires sacrifice that is too costly. Imagine two people rowing a boat. If they row in the same direction, the journey may be long, but it will be steady. If they row in opposite directions, the boat spins in circles. That is what happens in relationships without a shared future. You exhaust yourself with effort, but you never arrive anywhere. This misalignment can manifest in many ways. One partner wants marriage and children, while the other rejects the idea. One prioritizes career above all else, while the other values simplicity and presence. One dreams of travel and adventure, while the other craves stability. None of these desires are wrong on their own, but when combined, they cancel each other out. The painful truth is that staying together out of habit, history, or fear will not change the fact that your futures diverge. In fact, the longer you delay, the more brutal the eventual break becomes. Love is not just about holding hands in the present. It is about building something lasting together. If you can't picture the person beside you 5 or 10 years from now without compromising who you are, it's a clear signal. It's time to let go. Letting go, in this case, does not mean that the relationship was a failure. It means you were brave enough to recognize the truth, that love, without a shared future, is like a beautiful flower planted in sand. It may bloom for a while, but it cannot take root. Walking away allows both people to seek a path that truly reflects their values, and that is the greatest act of respect for each other. Number 5. When you stay only out of fear. Perhaps the most painful, but also the most common reason people remain in dying relationships is fear. fear of loneliness, fear of starting over, fear of judgment from friends, family, or society, fear of losing what feels familiar, even if that familiarity has turned toxic. This fear disguises itself as loyalty, but in truth, it is nothing more than a prison of the mind. Fear-based attachment is a trap because it convinces you that the known misery is safer than the unknown freedom. You tell yourself, at least I know what I have here, or maybe being unhappy together is better than being alone. But this is a lie that keeps you chained to unhappiness. The truth is that staying in a relationship purely out of fear is not love. It is surrender. When fear becomes the glue holding two people together, the relationship stops being a choice and becomes a cage. You stop growing because every decision is filtered through anxiety. What if I can't find anyone else? What if I regret leaving? What if I end up alone forever? These what-ifs paralyze you, keeping you stuck in a cycle of hesitation while your happiness withers away. What makes fear so dangerous is that it corrodes your identity. Over time, you begin to accept less and less, shrinking your expectations until you no longer recognize yourself. You lower your standards, silence your needs, and pretend that the scraps of attention or affection you receive are enough. You convince yourself that this half-life is better than no life at all, but deep down, you know the truth. Fear has stolen your freedom. Ironically, the very thing you fear, being alone, often turns out to be the path to healing. Loneliness is not as lethal as a loveless relationship. In solitude, you regain perspective, rediscover your worth, and rebuild the strength that fear convinced you didn't have. Alone, you can breathe again. You can dream again. And only then can you attract the kind of love that is rooted in choice, not fear. The brutal truth is this: staying because you are scared is the ultimate self-betrayal. It means you are choosing chains over wings. No matter how much time you've invested, no matter how much history you share, fear is not a good enough reason to remain. Walking away in the face of fear is not reckless. It is the highest form of courage. It means you refuse to let anxiety dictate your future. It means you believe in your ability to create a life that is not defined by desperation, but by dignity. When you finally step out of a relationship that you only maintained out of fear, you reclaim not just your freedom, but your entire self. Letting go of a relationship is never easy, but it is often the most powerful decision you can make for yourself. Love should not feel like chains around your neck. It should give you freedom, strength, and growth. When respect fades, when you are left begging for affection, when the relationship drains your spirit, when your dreams no longer align, or when fear is the only reason you stay, those are not signs of love, but of captivity. Walking away does not mean you failed. It means you chose courage over comfort, dignity over despair. The end of one chapter is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a stronger, wiser, freer you. And once you reclaim yourself, you open the door to a love that truly matches your worth. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever stayed too long in a relationship out of fear or habit? What helped you finally let go? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every one of them. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful insights on love, relationships, and self-mastery. Together, we grow stronger.